Hi ladies and gentlemen, it's a beautiful day, March 10th, 2013, and I wanted to do this outside. I know I have to wear my glasses and I'm squinting, but it's just nice to be out where it's starting to get warm again now. So thank you for viewing, and I hope you're having a wonderful day as well. I promised a few days ago that I was going to look into this admission by Dick Cheney that came out in the Pittsburgh paper with Maureen Dowd, and correlate that and look at that along with the situation with his admission in 2011 and why it would come out now, because that's very, very odd. Now I'm going to have a couple of videos here in a few minutes, and I'll give you a little background. I had some friends that said, man, Roy, you need a social life, you know, you need to find a girlfriend, you need to get a woman in your life. Why don't you go to Starbucks and just hang out there? So yeah, I've met some ladies there and some other people, but nobody I'm interested in. My tastes are pretty definitive. So no success in that regard yet. But the reason why I mention that is because I am there making these videos, and you'll hear a lot of background noise. And I could have done them at the house, sure, but you know, it adds a little dynamic to it. So I hope the background noise isn't too much of a problem for you. Okay, back to the Cheney thing. Let me show you his admission here first in 2011 with Chris Wallace.
You and the president had earlier discussed rules of engagement for taking down a hijacked airplane, but you were the one who gave the direct order to shoot down a plane that you were told, as it turns out incorrectly, was headed for Washington. Right. That's correct. What's that moment like? Well,
okay, I just wanted you to see that so that you know this is for real. Now we're going to have the current one, which was done just last week with Maureen Dowd. All right, look at this. Here is Maureen Dowd's story in the Post-Gazette, and there's the information. And I'm going to switch this to a slightly different focus. And then we're going to go down to his statement right here. Okay. This is what you need to look at. This is a current story. So we have the video, and we have this, which we released on March 7th, 2013. All right, I'm not sure about the release, the purposes in 2011. I haven't really studied that. The current situation is my concern. Why was this leaked out again, or put out in the mainstream media again right now? You know, really, everything that's happened here, the Maureen Dowd article is particularly important because it shows how much Cheney lied on so many things about 9/11. It throws the entire official story up in our faces. All right. Why now? I think they're trying to push right-wing conservatives over the edge so that they'll react. Okay? That's what I think's going on here. We've got the gun bills. We've got everything that Obama's done in the last little while that's absolutely divided the country down the middle. You know, not north and south, Mason-Dixon line, but if you look at the states that have put in really strict confiscatorial anti-gun laws, you know, there are about like 15 or 18 of them now, maybe more. And then you've got the other conservative states that are actually saying no federal government. It's the Second Amendment. You will not enforce it here in our state. You've got this thing dividing us, and that's just one issue that's dividing the country. This is divide and conquer, folks. And what they're doing is they're slipping in another wedge here. Why do I say that? Well, there's another issue. The Southern Poverty Law Center is a provocateur NGO. What am I talking about? Well, you'll see it here on a video in a minute. The SPLC claims to be an anti-hate group, but they're not, okay? They're anti-conservative. And if you're a conservative or a Christian or a gun owner or a constitutionalist or any of those things, they hate you. But they're saying you hate them and all the minorities, and they always make an issue out of race. For instance, Obama, if you disagree with his policies, you don't disagree with him because he's wrong or you think he's wrong. You're doing it because you're a racist. You don't like black men. That's how they handle everything. A little background on the SPLC. They were involved in Elham City. What's that? Well, it has to do with Timothy McVeigh and the Oklahoma City bombing, and I'm not going to go into all the details here, but they had informants that were there. As a matter of fact, their CEO and president says that if he tells you really what their involvement is, he'd have to kill you. And they're not kidding, okay? They say it what you'd think is tongue-in-cheek, but it isn't. They actually are a source for the Department of Justice and the FBI and the DHS and all those people. Not that what they give them is true, okay, but that the DOJ and all these other organizations can say, we have intelligence about thus and so, and that's why we acted. And it's all provocateured, all of it. The Michigan militia, who was finally, all of them were finally acquitted, you know, thank God, you know, but it might not be that easy next time. All right, so what did the SPLC just do? Well, let me show you the clip, okay? You're going to see it right here. I want you to see Mark Potok talking. He's their spokesman. And then I'm going to show you a letter that they sent to the DOJ.
Welcome back to Harvard. The crazies are still on the rise. A study by the Southern Poverty Law Center finds that the number of anti-government patriot groups has exploded over the last 4 years. According to the study, these groups typically believe that the federal government is conspiring to take Americans' guns away from them and destroy their liberties as it paves the way for a global one-world government. Well, these are groups like the Constitution Party, We Are Change, Tyranny Response Team, and Americans for a Free Republic. And these anti-government patriot groups have skyrocketed in number during President Obama's time in office. There were only 149 groups back in 2008. In 2012, there were more than 1,300, and that's an increase of over 800%. Look at the chart there. Yesterday, the Southern Poverty Law Center sent a letter to Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano and Attorney General Eric Holder warning that the gun control debate may lead to even more such groups being founded. Mark Potok is a respected guy for us. He's with the Southern Poverty Law Center, and Brian Levin is with the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism at California State University, San Bernardino. Gentlemen, I want you to start tonight. It's your report, Mark, so lead the way here. Let me ask you this. I'm going to get into this in my close tonight on the show, which I feel a lot of. I look at Obama as a perfect American. I don't mean politically. We can disagree left and right on him. You can argue about the drones, argue about the fiscal policy, all that stuff. But as a citizen, the guy went to school. He never broke a law. He did everything right. He raised a wonderful family. He's a good husband, a good father. My God, I don't think he's ever got a speeding ticket. The guy does everything right. And these right-wing, and he's really been pretty moderate on guns until the horror of Newtown. And I don't know what they're so afraid of him for, except he happens to be black. Is there some reason why he has sparked this explosion in right-wing organizing?
Well, I think, like you say, Chris, I mean, it has to do with his color. You know, what I would say is that with a lot of these groups, it's not visceral clan-like racism. It's not, you know, we want to send black people back to Africa or something along those lines. It's more like I look at the White House, I see a black man there, I feel the culture's changing all around me. By the way, the economy's terrible, I can't get a job, or I'm afraid I'm going to lose the one I do have. And it kind of all melds together in a feeling of, you know, I've lost my country. Somehow this is not the country that my forefathers created.
Okay, and here's that letter from the SPLC. This is their website, splccenter.org, so you can see it for yourself. This is the president and CEO there. We're going to be talking about his front man, the guy that goes on here in just a minute. This is the letter to Eric Holder and Napolitano, and here's the date, and this is important. Now, let me show you just a couple things about what this says so that you know how serious this is. And we're going to go down to right here. Alright, today we write to express our similar concerns. In the last 4 years, we have seen a tremendous increase in the number of conspiracy-minded anti-government groups, as well as in the number of domestic terror plots. Yeah, what are those? Most of them have been shown to be fallacious, like the Minnesota or Michigan militia. As in the period before the Oklahoma City bombing, which I'm going to discuss here in a minute, we now are also seeing ominous threats from those who believe that the government is poised to take their guns, okay? And then look at this. Growing threat of non-Islamic domestic terrorism. This is all important, folks. Go look at this. All right. What do these two events have in common? Well, first of all, they're separated by 3 days. March 5th, March 8th. The Maureen Dowd article and the SPLC letter, 3 days difference. Okay? We have the whole situation with this conservative liberal issue dividing the country, specifically on Obamacare, on power of the federal government, on states' rights, nullification, guns. They're ripping us apart. And whenever you take up an argument, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, and this isn't just from the SPLC, they invoke race on everything if you disagree with their policy. They say it's because of race, which it isn't. But if they say that, then you want to cower and not address the issue because, oh, I'm not a racist. How can I prove I'm not a racist? By not objecting to what they're doing. That's the wrong attitude, folks. Anyway, so you have these two things happening within 3 days of each other. Okay, we know that they want to say that the conservatives, gun owners, are domestic terrorists. It's a definition, all right? That expanding terrorist definition, like the terrorist wars. You know, now we're not just going to kill the bad guys, supposedly. We're going to kill the associates of their associates. You know, if you just know somebody, you might have a drone come flying through a drone missile come flying through your living room window. And I'm not joking about this, all right? Anyway, so we've got this division. We've got the government wanting to take more power. They're meeting a lot of resistance on this anti-gun move. And I pointed out that the Chinese generals at the Pentagon, who wanted to nuke 100 cities, he's not your friend. He's at the Pentagon, and we've got North Korea starting to be a problem. And I pointed out that, yeah, North Korea is somewhat removed, but we could blame a lot of stuff on them, okay? The big deal about North Korea, as I said, they are the bastard stepchild of China. And China will back them up, and even came out today and said that they would. Yet that Chinese general's at the Pentagon. What's the real object here? Well, I can only put pieces of this puzzle together. And as I've said, this isn't an exact science, all right? But with the release of Cheney's statement to incite the conservative side of the country that don't all buy the 9/11 story, and the SPLC now saying that domestic extremist groups are the gun pro-gun people, constitutionalists, returning veterans, all the same things in the MIAC report. By the way, they provided the information for those reports. I think we are looking at a potential incident here very, very soon. And these little tidbits of information they're slipping out are so that they could say, see, we thought something was coming, and it is. But it's provocateuring at its most insidious. So all I will say about this is that if you see the media and the government saying that militia groups or right-wing extremists went out and hurt decent, hard-working, ordinary Americans, and I mean even government workers, you know, they're not out to do that. They're a defensive organization. You know, like I said one time before, they can be pushed where things can get nasty, but that's not what they want. They just want the Constitution to be abided by, or just do away with it, right? We don't want to pretend like it's something that it isn't. It might get bad, but the SPLC and the government is going to provocateur something here soon. And we had all those drills going along on the harbor cities, the coastal cities. You know, I don't know. I don't know where the thing is going to happen. That much I can't put a finger on, but I wouldn't doubt it has something to do with water. All right, and I've said that before. And I know that sounds kind of simplistic, but you know, sometimes it's just that simple. All right, so that's what I think's happening here. I think the Dick Cheney thing is to cause people some anxiety and to incite the conservatives into into another questioning mode at a critical time. And the SPLC coming out and saying that those same people are domestic terrorists and that they're going to get active. SPLC came out before the Oklahoma City bombing and said the same thing. And remember, their informants and their provocateurs were in Elohim City. All right. That's where it is. Yes, I'm a little upset about this. I'm not angry. Yes, I can get angry often. I think about the lives of my friends and my family and my loved ones, and that it's not right that people use their lives and the destruction of their lives to further their own ends. So I don't want that happening to your families or your loved ones either, and that's really what this is all about. So there we are. I'll probably be back on here shortly. I'm watching some other things quite closely. I'm not certain that I can stop right yet. All right, and just so you know that I want to be clear on this provocateur thing, if it's provocateur to an existing group, it'll be a small number of people in that group that are easily swayed, very similar to a lot of the other things that the FBI has uncovered lately, right? But it's more than likely going to be a very severe incident with government operatives or government-sponsored operatives. In other words, it's going to be a false flag, okay? So, and I've been talking about this for a while now because, I've looked at these things before. As a matter of fact, it'll probably a little bit more than that. So, just be aware. I am concerned about the people that will be hurt in this thing because I'm not Machiavellian. I don't believe that the ends justifies the means. People's lives are too precious. So anyway, I just want to make sure you understood that when I said provocateur, I think that this is a